session regular meeting, Tuesday, November 14th. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Crawford.
Here.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Here.
Mr. Moore.
Here.
Mr. Norris.
Yes.
Mr. Essenpala.
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
roll call, please.
Mr. Norris.
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yep.
Mr. Essenpala.
Yes.
Public participation. Each person who wishes to address the board will be asked to give his and her name and address. Remarks should be limited to 3 minutes in length. If after everyone who wishes to do so has had an opportunity to speak, additional comments can be made up to a total allotted time of 30 minutes. Okay. Nutritional standards report.
Mr. Kraft.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about it. So, I went through all the policies and everything from like 9.26, the wellness, school wellness policy, 9.14, the food for sale, standards and services, the 6.29, the student health and safety, 6.48, students with food allergies, the 9.34, eligibility for free and reduced price meals or milk. The milk's really not there, but that's okay. The 9.39, the student meal charges. I went through everything. It looks still pretty good. There's nothing really to change on, no format. Looking down the bottom too, talks a little bit about our HACCP plan, which we do have, the hazard analysis and critical control points. We are working on doing that right now, actually, with our new management staff we have in all the buildings. All the managers have that. That is a majority of going through their coolers, freezers, stuff like that. Also food temperatures, everything. When you make something, you write it all down to log it. So when health department comes, they'll have a log of everything every day. So that goes on. So they're showing now, or okay, all right. So I just want to show you guys a little bit, real quick, a couple of things that we're doing in the district. Right now, we're doing about 65% fresh fruit and vegetables. We're not at where I want to be because I was inherited from last year, from the group that was here last year, from the commodities that we're getting canned and frozen fruits and vegetables, which I have to use or I lose it. I don't want to lose that money. That's federal money we lose, so I'm not going to. Next year, my goal is to be at 95% fresh fruits and vegetables to no district. There'll be no frozen, no canned, definitely no canned because I can't stand that. That's one of my biggest pet peeves, just like right now, it's one of my biggest things. So this is some of the schools, what they're doing now. They're giving students options, a lot of options. They're all doing it. Some of them are self-serve. The little ones, they're trying to give them self-serve a little bit, but it's kind of slowing down the lines. But we're working on that. But we're also still giving the options. This is usually fourth, fifth, 7th, 8th, 6th. High school, definitely high school. Fresh fruits too. Every day, this is what you're gonna see in all the schools. Every time you walk into a school building, you're gonna see this every day. Right now, you're gonna see some applesauce in there. You're gonna see some sliced apples. You're gonna see some peaches, diced peaches, canned. Just so you know, like I said, we're inherited by it. Not happy with it, but we have to use it or lose it. I don't want to lose that federal money, so I can't stand it, but that's okay. So we're trying to incorporate some new things to the kids to get them to learn. Blackberries, raspberries. Over to the right, we made like a pasta salad, or a vegetable, like an Italian salad. You see that little chunks there, that's fresh mozzarella we bought. Cut it up, mix it with Italian dressing. Kids loved it. Big hit, big thing. So keep going on. This is what we did at Maplehurst on the left. Kids got a kick out of it. We did watermelon popsicles. I bought them online. You can buy popsicles for $2 for what, 200 of them. And the kids got a kick out for breakfast to go grab the beans. Fun little thing. There's your peaches. I can't stand, but that's how it goes, I guess. That's my thing. I wanted to put that slider and make sure you guys did see it, so I wasn't misleading you guys information. I can't stand it, but I have to do it, so. But I really like to be 100% one of these days, so that's our goal. These are the salads they're starting to serve, some new things. They're putting out dinner size salads for the kids, not for and staff. Staff is pre-ordering their salads now. They do a Google form through all the district, each individual building. The managers at the building pull it up every day and see what the staff wants in their salads. They pre-order them and they make them. They want one item on it. They want nothing on it. Whatever they want on it, you put on it. So, just like go to a restaurant, same thing. They pay $3.75 for a dinner size salad with vegetables, meats, 2 fruits, another veggie if they wanted, water or milk, for $3, $3.75. So you can't complain about it. So they're happy with it. So some other salads, Santa Fe salad on the left-hand side. There's a little chef salad on the right. We just started Bob Evans wildfire salad too, starting tomorrow. So that's going to be a new one too tomorrow, just so you know. So you know. I didn't say it out loud. Hopefully it's not public, but okay.
Live streamed already.
Yeah, don't put that out there. So there's the salads. These are for the students, and they go quick. They really go quick. Kids like them. They average 50 to 75 a day they make per building. The middle school is the biggest hit of them. They really are being hit. They can't keep up with them. It's that big. Peppers, jalapenos. Okay, so the middle school, they decided that some of the kids asked for jalapenos. So Lake Street. They asked for jalapenos, so we did jalapenos one day, and that was the last time we did it. Little girl ate one. It was too hot. She ate the seeds, and mom had to pick her up. It wasn't because of that she got sick. She had the flu too, I guess, or something. But I talked to mom. She was okay with it. She's like, well, she shouldn't have ate it. She knew better. Because they put a little sign there that they were hot. So we took them to the high school and cut them up on pizzas. So they were good. We didn't lose money. So we are doing scratch, semi-scratch, and scratch cookie now. So you know that from the buildings. This is like a little breakfast sandwich we do on the left-hand side. We bake our cinnamon rolls in the morning, proof in the morning, bake them, ice them, serve them. All the buildings have one of these now. We're doing a little breakfast cart. You see online, you see the menu where we have one, like a hot choice. Sometimes they have 2, it depends. We give them an option here. We have a lot of students that have got to have that reputation of getting the same thing every single day. They got to have a Pop-Tart. They got to have their Frosted Flakes. They got to have their muffin. And we don't want to take that away from them because if you do, they're not going to get breakfast. They're like, I'm not going to get it then. So we want to keep going with the same thing. So that's what we did for Halloween. The district, so I just want to throw it out there that you see it. So it's kind of fun. Like little spiders, kids went crazy over. They liked them. They ate them. So it's all that. So fun. So we did this at Main Street. There's a couple schools we're doing this at. We did like a little, I don't know what you want to call it, chicken bar. The bottom right, honey barbecue, just like BW3s. I helped to put them together. There's chicken fries, some spicy tenders. We did some roasted brown sugar, honey glazed carrots. Kind of cool little thing. And we made fresh baked biscuits. So it's kind of cool. And this is one we did at Lake Street. We did it there too. Same thing, same exact thing. The kids like it. It's the fact that when you see on the menu, we're not giving them one choice. We're giving them more than one choice. And actually, it's kind of neat because when I go to the schools, I actually just sit down and talk to the kids and get the feedback from them and find out what they want. You know, it's not what we're going to make the kids eat. It's what the kids want to eat. It's kind of nice to get that feedback and see, okay, hey, we like chicken tenders, we like pasta, we like this. Okay, well, let's write it down. Let's figure this out. Let's see what you guys want on the menu for next month. So I just feel that you've got to give ownership back to the kids, and you have to get that into them. And they get to choose the menu as long as it's feasible. I mean, it's got to be feasible. That's the biggest thing. You can't get filet mignon in our state. So we do make our pizzas by scratch too. You guys, I'm sure you guys already see that. The left-hand side is our Porky Pig. That's our biggest seller now. The right-hand side is a buffalo chicken ranch pizza, which is another big hit in the district. The big hits is the middle school, the high school. Actually, we served it at the Main Street, the Porky Pig. That was a big hit. The kids got a kick out of it. Sold out. I tried to keep up with it. I couldn't keep up with it. I made them, so I just couldn't. It was a big hit. We make our own Strambolis. Those are not store-bought, those are made by scratch at the school. We make them at the high school, at the middle school, so you know. Yeah, they're, so you guys, when I got hired, I changed program. I'm gonna change it. It's gonna get better. It's gonna get better even, so it's gonna be different. These are the pizzas, the pizza up at the high school. These are all scratch-made pizzas, all of them. Something different. So this is something we did the other day. We tried two Popeyes. We made our own everything. All the ingredients were made by scratch. Everything. Kids loved it. It was the biggest thing. I mean, it really was. I didn't think we made it to high school. I didn't know if the high school would like it or not. I think they'd try it. They did. They really did adapt to it. They thought it was a big hit. Took a little planning, a little time. Staff has the recipes. We have a manager now in each of the buildings, so she took control of it and she put it out. So, just like I said, we do our fresh baking. We do dinner rolls. We bake them by scratch every day, or not every day, but when we have them on the menu, we bake them in the buildings. We set them up, proof them, bake them. That's what we do. Same with biscuits. Same exact thing. So, this is a little bit of in-house catering for the students. So I just did this one Pleasant Street on Friday. She had her bucket fillers with us, so kind of did something a little interesting with them. So I made scratch pizzas for them and took them down there to them and dropped them off. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, that is not ice cream. That is frozen yogurt. I will not serve students ice cream because it's not part of the program. Frozen yogurt is good to go, but not frozen ice cream. So I'm very picky about that. So, yeah. And when they had their stuff, I would not give them their ice cream until they ate the food. So very touchy about it. So very touchy. But yeah. This is the one where we did with the staff. We did one here. We also did one with the Brown downtown for the football. I don't know what it was, about 3 weeks ago. I did it with the city. I got another one here too. I actually just did one too with Fisher Titus Hospital with the radiology department. They had the Rad Tech week last week. They asked me to come cater it. So I catered it at night and did it at 7 o'clock at night and dropped it off to them. They wanted for their second and third shift. So something different. So the nice thing about that is when you get money for that kind of events for catering, you can take that money. You can't spend federal money that you get for like child nutrition for like reimbursements on anything like that. But when you get that, you can spend it on the kids for different things. Like, you know, if we want to do a fire safety week, have the kids come in, have lunch with the firemen. You can serve their meals in firemen's hats. We can buy that. We can spend that money, that little bit of money we get for catering, the little profit we get for it, and buy things like that. But that's why I do that. That's why I do that catering and stuff like that for the kids. So, and this is my last slide. Just to show, these are the companies that we use for our food in the district. These are the companies. There's no, I don't know what to say, there's no fake food. That's why I tell the kids all the time. There's no fake food, guys. It's not fake. Well, I don't want to eat that. Well, let me tell you what it is. It's McCain's, it's Tyson's, JTM, it's Bosco's. It's real name brand food. So, and these are commodity items that we get, but these are the name brands. So.
I don't think Mr. Moore ever got his question answered when day one from that. We're all just looking at one there. And he asked a question that was never answered. So I don't know if you can answer that for us now or not.
What's that question?
Big Daddies.
Oh, Big
What
Daddy's
do they
Pizza.
create for our kids?
Big Daddy's. Big Daddy's Pizza is a Schwan item. The Schwan company, they make pizzas like that. We use them for the elementaries mostly if we have to. The pre-cut pizzas is what we use. Yeah. Tyson, we use all their chicken products. The chicken products that we use is actually the same products that Wendy's uses. Same exact products. JTM, we use taco meat. It's 100% beef. There's no soy added to it. It's 80-20. Bosco stick. Everything we have. I don't use any soy. I don't believe in soy-based foods. I can't stand that. I think that's, I know, I would not serve a child or any student anything I wouldn't eat myself, and I won't eat that kind of stuff. I'm just very picky about it. So. That's how I've always been that way. I'd rather spend a little bit more money if you have to on something like that. So that's my whole spiel. So, yeah.
In terms of catering, so I was here for the veteran event, and Jim, I think you were here as well. I mean, I don't believe you catered that, but I wonder if there would be opportunities to cater those types of events in the future.
Absolutely. And my staff, I can't make them cater it, my staff, but they can volunteer and they get paid for it, so they get extra pay for it. And I explained to them too that it goes to the retirement, it does add into it, so it does eventually add up to it, so.
I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you. so
Oh, okay.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, yeah.
But I do have to say that I've got, my middle schooler is the pickiest eater. And you guys probably have one like that too, but I spend more money on lunches at school than we do with packing.
Oh, really?
So I have to congratulate you on
thanks.
that.
And
And thank you for that, because that saves my wife some time from packing lunches. in the morning. It would be nice to have one of these meetings.
Pizza we're looking like. I just put a survey out Thursday with the middle school and high school students, all of them. And we got about 120 responses back. We had 4 negatives back. The rest of them were all positive. So some of them are not realistic. You know, they wanted, hey, can we have steak on the menu? You know, it's like, no, it's not going to happen. You know, but some were pretty legit. You know, can we have a different kind of fruits? Can we have this? And I mean, I get it. I do get it. Can we have a bigger portion size? I'm like, I don't know how much more you want. I mean, you get 2 vegetables, 2 fruits, and everything else. But yeah. But besides that, though, everything else is good though with it. So. And I'm going to share that with the principals so they see it too, the middle school and high school and Pat and Gary. So, but yeah. So we're going to keep going. So, okay. That's it.
thank you.
All right. All right.
Ms. Kraft, we've noticed a huge difference. I mean, a lot of us have kids in the school. I mean, it's night and day. So I don't know if you hear that enough. I'm sure you do because Brad sings your praises, but you're doing an excellent job and you lowered lunches by giving them actual food. So thank you again for everything you do.
Okay, all right. Well, October 2023 financial reports, I sent out information on this. We'll just talk about it as part of the forecast when we get there. Then we had the minutes from the October 10th meeting. We actually had 1 meeting in October, so it was just a regular minutes to approve. We have a family medical leave act for Kim and Joy. And then we talk about the donations, then we'll forecast. So following donations, the robotics program, normally the board only approves donations over $500, but since they were all for the robotics, I just wanted to put them all on there. Nate's done a really good job of collecting a variety of donations, and then like when they went to Texas last year, quite a few people donated too, so they've done a good job. And then we had the League Elementary for books. The Eagles donated once again to them. They buy, it was a Tony Legando leadership type mentoring books for all the League Elementary students, so that's a really good thing. And then we had the TLC, the Veterans Day Honors Trip. They donated some money towards that, so that was really good. And now we'll do the forecast, which, gosh, after Mr. Kraft didn't look anywhere near as yummy, but. So, everybody should have, the spreadsheet part, Brenda doesn't, the spreadsheet part and the assumptions to it. And everybody in TV land, you can look it up online. So, we're gonna go ahead and get started with the 5-year forecast. You remember we do this every May and November. We have a couple important points about the forecast. It's general fund only, right? So there's no federal title money, no special education, no cafeteria money in this, no permanent improvement, no student activities, no athletics. Just the general fund, money that we can use for any operating expense. So, but once we spend some of those funds, like when we run out of our federal dollars, then those expenses come back to the general fund. So we do have that. An important point to note with this is the ESSER funds that are not actually in the forecast, but they affect the forecast. We will have spent over $8 million in ESSER money by the end of fiscal 25. That's just an incredible amount of money when you think about it, $8 million. We still have $3 million of the ESSER 3 ARC money that we're going to finish off in fiscal 24. And we have the stipend set aside for fiscal 25. The way it's set up, we need to have it expended by the end of 24 But we can, because we're gonna pay the stipend in 25, it'll count because it's encumbered. So we're able to use that for fiscal 25, and then we will be done with our ESSER money. But it's still a lot. We've been able to offset or eliminate deficit spending in our forecast, in our general fund, and we've done so many good things for our students, right? We've got the literacy coordinators, we've got additional permanent subs, we did deep cleaning over the summertime, we've got school nurses, we've got additional teachers. It's just been a really great thing. Oh, let's see which one. Okay, so the forecast is pretty much set up with kind of like an income statement, your basic income statement, right? So we have our revenues at the top, up here, and then we've got your expenses down here after that. And then at the bottom, we've got what our, it's called, it's like a profit and loss, but we don't want to say that with students. We don't profit or lose on our students. So we call it excess of revenues and other financing over under expenditures or other financing. But basically, it's the bottom line. So for revenues, we want to notice that we've got $30 million in general fund revenues. So what I thought we'd do is we kind of delve into each line one by one and talk about them all. First one is property tax. Now I know this is like a really busy slide, right? There's so much going on here. Even though I said that, I was joking. I put 3 lines together here, right? So we're going to talk about these 3 things because they're all property tax related, right? So property tax includes everything. It's our tangible personal property, which is public utilities. So you see it's the transmission lines and utilities and Columbia gas stations and all that. It's your house, your residential, it's your agricultural, it's your business and commercial. So it's everything. And this is a new description, but not a new line item. This is your, what used to be called property tax allocation, but the legislature wants everyone to know that they are paying 12.5% of all residential taxpayers' property tax. So that's why it's now called state share of local property taxes. So this is your rollback in your homestead. And it's been made really clear to us all that we need to make sure it says that on there. We've had multiple emails. Make sure it says that. So I wanted to clarify that the state is picking that up. And you'll remember they did want to change it. They didn't want to do that anymore. But House Bill 1, where they wanted to lower the income tax, well, cut the income tax out. And then they wanted to get rid of the rollbacks. Fortunately, that did not go through. Property tax makes up about $10 million of revenues for us. So that's about 1/3 of our overall revenues, $30 million in revenues. But it is pretty important to us. So this is also why I was so concerned back when the city wanted to do a tax abatement. Exempt property taxes for all of our residential property owners going forward. Because this is 1/3 of our revenue. It's really important to us. So we will be closely watching this going forward. So this bottom section down here came straight from the county auditor. And I actually talked to him today. So we have an updated valuation for next year. We're going to be at $394 million. So when you look at this, it tells you that 1 mil is equal to your valuation. So 1 mil raises $389,000. So next year, 1 mil, when it goes to 394, is going to raise $294,000. So that's how I know what to put in here for next year because of the increase in that. This part right here, these are all of our levies out there. We have not had a levy for new money since 2014. So that is like, that's huge. I mean, this is 2023. When does that ever happen, right? We are now at the 20 mil floor. This is the rate that was passed when the levies were passed, and as you go, it rolls back, right? So before we hit the 20 mil floor, we didn't see increases in our taxes. What happened was it rolled back. It rolled your effective millage back. But now that we've hit the 20 mil floor, it doesn't do that anymore. So we're going to see increases. So that's just, I just can't stress how important that is to us as a district. Which which is why I'm so concerned, because the state legislature is constantly talking about making changes to property tax, because tax valuations are going up, because if you read the paper, you'll see that houses are selling for a lot more than what they were. But for us, a 20 mil floor is just huge, and we're finally there, and they're talking about changing it. That would just be disastrous. This down here, permanent improvement and bond, that's your 003 and your 002. The emergency is part of general fund. It is a dollar-based levy. So it still continues to roll back because it only was passed for a dollar amount. So it never brings in any extra. Brings in the 1.5 million each time. And then this over here kind of gives you what the homestead does for your taxpayer, right? So if you have the $100,000 home, it's 35% of value. So that's what you would pay, is $35 and $1 mil. With the homestead, it knocks it down to $26.25. So you can see why homestead is so important. They are looking to change homestead a little bit, make it eligible to more people, hopefully. Eligible, there's a 70 bill out there now to freeze property taxes for anyone 70 and older that makes $70,000 or less. That would be wonderful, because homestead is one of the few things that is like a win-win. The district and all the other taxing entities receive their money, and the homeowner receives the benefit. So it's huge. So if you can multiply it out, but usually for most property owners, the homestead is probably $300-400 that they're saving on their taxes. So it's just huge. So going forward, you'll see that we're looking at a nice increase in 2026, fiscal 2026. So this is because every 3 years, you have either a reappraisal or an update, which is where they go around and they take pictures of your house and they know that. And then they send you a letter. They tell you what your new valuation is. And if you disagree with it, you can meet with the Board of Revision and tell them why you disagree. But that's scheduled to happen in 2026. And we're looking at maybe a 20% increase in valuation from what Roland said today. So that's just huge for us. Totally exciting. It happened back in 21, because it's every 3 years. Any questions on property tax before we move on?
The 10-year levy that we have,
Yes,
when did it expire?
I think it's 28, because it's not yet. When it's scheduled to be renewed, it'll come out of the regular property tax and it'll go at the bottom of the forecast, because you can't count on it until it's been passed. So I believe, well, not 28, the next year would be up for 28. The money will come, because you pay your taxes in earnings. So it would be the next year. Okay. Make sure I got everything covered in there. I know there's so much going on in this slide. Here. Okay. School district income tax. This is a good thing to have for us, but it's not really a large amount of money. We talked about 30 million in revenues, and you can see maybe this year we're going to be at 3 million. So it's not a huge thing, and it's probably good that it's not huge, because you can see when you look at the year-over-year change what the differences are. I mean, it's very sensitive to people working, investments, and interest rates, all of that, and it moves up and down a lot quickly. It takes property tax a while to catch up, but school district, because it's based on income, moves quick. So you can see, like in 2009, when we hit that recession, how it dropped, quite a bit, and it took a long time. It took it up till the blue line here, where it actually came back to where it was before. It's been in place since '99. So since '99, it went from like 1.5 million to 3 million. So in all that time, it's just barely doubled.
That 3% loss we took in 22 here, 3.39, that was
Yes.
COVID related?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Mhm. And because of all the fraud with the unemployment system, unemployment is normally taxable. But there's so much fraud, and not just in Ohio, but everywhere. But the federal government didn't really have any way to address it. Because unemployment is taxable for both at the federal, state, and all that. So their way out was they made it not taxable for that year, because there was no way they could address all the fraud that had occurred. So that just trickled down and it made it non-taxable at our level too. So we had that going on too, because at that time, there was quite a bit of unemployment being paid out for people.
But that rebounded really well, I mean, 23, 24.
It did. It has come way back, which is where you see the increases people are seeing in their wages, the increases in interest income. It's paid quarterly, so it comes out of everybody's paycheck. And then at the final payment, when you pay your taxes in April, is when people would pay if they're self-employed or that. If they're making a lot, they'd be paying an estimated amount, but that's when they true up. So that payment's always the larger one. Not the one that actually comes in April, the one that comes in July, because it's paid quarterly, so after the fact. So, but yeah, you can see, I mean, there's so many swings. It's a good thing, but it's not a stable source of income. More questions? Okay. State funding. So this, we just had a new budget passed, a 2-year budget. This is our largest category of funding. And it's so important to us. 16.7 million. And I put these two lines together. They just make it difficult. Unrestricted and restricted state funding, and then the other one, they've restricted quite a bit of our funding. It's important to know that there was a big change, as I said, with the new Fair School Funding Plan, how they did the funding. So they don't deduct from us. So once 21 is gone, then the forecast will be comparable year to year. But right now, 21 is skewing everything, because before we started the new Fair School Funding Plan, they would deduct from us open enrollment, in and out, community schools, vouchers, the autism scholarship, John Peterson, huge amounts of money, millions of dollars in and out. So you can kind of see the drop, you know, because of the change in the way they did it. So I can't wait for 21 to be gone, so we can just forget about all that. This is a busy slide too, isn't it? It was really good. We had a really nice increase this year. Okay, you can see we're going a little over $1 million. That's huge. That really kind of saved us. But the problem is, they came up with a Fair School Funding Plan, and it's a methodology to fairly, adequately, and equitably fund schools. It looks at how many students you have, what their needs are, figures like one teacher for 24 elementary, and then it's a different number in the high school. You need like however many guidance counselors for your buildings and your number of students. You need one specialist, which is like a music teacher for so many students. It gives a dollar amount for computers and technology, and so it has all this, so it builds in a methodology for the fund students. But the problem is, they didn't fund it. They made it a 6-year phased-in plan. So it's still really just a number. It's not a real number. And the way they get this number, so what I did here is I took fiscal 22, 23, 24. And the way they do this is they took our fiscal 21 funding, they figured out what we should be funded based upon the Fair School Funding Plan, and then they phased it in. So the first year was 1/6, 16%, and then the second year was 33%, and then this year it's 50%. So if you look, we should have had 15.5 million. We phased it in, we only got 13.5. So fiscal 22, we're missing over $2 million of funding for us to be correctly funded by the methodology. 23, 1.2 million, 24, 1.8 million. 24 goes back up because they changed the inputs that it was based on. So it's good that we have this plan. If they would have funded it, that would have been better. The concern was the state doesn't have enough money to fund it. They don't have the money, which isn't true. They have lots of money. Every time I read the focus ed, they talk about how they are way over estimates. They were over what they collected last year. They have lots of money. And then they decided to fund private education at a much higher amount than what they're funding public schools. So if they didn't have the money to completely fund public schools, they've decided to fund another method of education before they even finish their public education. So with that, average up there, 6,364 per pupil. That's just taking all of the state money, dividing it by the ADM. That's not your plain student that doesn't have any special needs, because each student is classified, do they need special education, are they gifted, do they need career tech, different things like that. And then they might receive a little bit more money. So I just divided it out to come up with what we receive per pupil from that. If you look at what the vouchers are, what private schools are getting, the K-8 is getting 6,165, high school is getting 8,407. Plus, they're getting $656 in regular and auxiliary funding on top of that. So when you look at what they're funding us compared to what they're funding in private school, that's a bit of a concern, because we would like to see the Fair School Funding Plan funded going forward. All of this is coming out of the same line item at the state level. It's all coming out of the education line. It's not public assist private, it comes out of one.
So Trace, now, pardon me for interrupting, but 6364 per pupil, that's every student that we have, 9 to 12 even.
Yes,
And
Yes.
they're gonna get 8407.
yes. And even like when I figured in the 6364, so I took all of our state funding divided by students. But when I figured that in, I also figured in like what they give us for transportation. But we're required to transport private school students. So we're transporting them too, so that like, it's not always apples to oranges. But yes, it is definitely much more money, and it's any private school student, any school that wants to apply, and any income level. Once you're at $135,000 for a family of 4, they start phasing down this voucher amount, but it never phases down to nothing. Right? You get at least $650 for a K-8 and $950 for a 912. So I don't know how many millionaires or billionaires we have in Huron County, but if we did, they're still able to receive this money. I just feel like that's a little bit of a,
That's for homeschool as well.
not yet. Not yet. They did stop short of doing homeschooling. So, but it is any private school. And they did not put any additional, like we have a lot of transparency and accountability that we have to do. We have to have an audit, we have to have public board meetings. That they did not do any of that for the private schools. We have teacher credentialing, if the state is gonna do this, it should be on the same level, if that's what they want to do, everybody should play by the same rules, so.
Can we
I
do
am
anything-
about fairness.
Can we do anything about the missing funding? Can we do anything? Can we send them the bill? I mean, but honestly, how can we so we're just supposed to not get it and just accept the fact that we're down $2 million of funds that we're owed?
Well,
Like no
we
recourse
do reach
yet?
out to our legislators. I know Pat just had a meeting, and when he met with one of them, I went over the catastrophic cost issue that I have. But it's hard. It's hard to get, get movement. So that's why it really is, I know you get emails from me saying, this is what I said to the legislature. I sent an email, I did this, because you just have to try to advocate for it.
Right. So if no one's asking for it, they're not gonna give it to you.
Right.
So I just feel like that's a large amount of tax money. It's not their money. These are tax dollars that are from our district or our state. We should be able to collect it. So, the only other thing is.
And what's more important than public education? I mean, really.
Right. Also, I think it's like,
Apparently private.
yeah, right.
Private education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's important to stress too that this ESSER money, that kept us afloat. The one good thing COVID did, I guess, if you want to give it something, is this ESSER funds from the state were released. And I think it's really important to say that, again, that is the only thing that kept us afloat. It kept us from laying off staff. Where we were before that money came in is completely night and day. And also, for anyone that doesn't understand, if we didn't spend it, we lost it. And it wasn't a number that they could say, hey, we're going to put it in our general fund and we're going to pay for teachers for the next how many years. I mean, that would make sense. But of course, we couldn't do that. So this ESSER money was, allocated to, you could spend this much on cleaning, you could spend this much on this and that. So a lot of people kind of hear, well, we spent all this money, we spent $8 million. I think it's important to know if we didn't spend it, we lost it. I just wanted to make sure that everybody understands that, and it did help us, not get to this number we're about to get to.
It was huge. I mean, it really saved us.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. And ours, for school districts, we had to do it on a reimbursement basis. Like I know the county and the entities that got federal dollars, they just got the money.
Right.
We had to spend the money, pay our teachers, and then request reimbursement, which that's kind of tough. And, like the first thing that happened when the Ohio Department of Education became the Department of Education and Workforce was they did something wrong to their state accounting system. We should have had our state foundation funding payment on Thursday of last week. They had some sort of error where they did not pay it out until Tuesday of this. And it's like, how do you do that? I mean, I'm pretty sure payroll was on Friday, and I said, no, sorry, I'm going to pay you on Tuesday. There would be an uproar. So that definitely does not make me think that the Department of Education and Workforce is going to be they're going to have a learning curve. So, if I have more notes about something. Hop on a tangent here. Oh, yes, right, here we go. Okay, so the other thing in this is they've restricted a lot more of our funding. So before, you can see we only had a small amount of what was restricted, and that was our economic disadvantage. They've now restricted quite a bit more of our funding. So English language learners, gifted, career tech, student wellness, economic disadvantage. I have to report and all of that money to the state, how we spend it. And you can only spend it in certain categories. And with the gifted, if you don't spend it, they take it back. The gifted has a very good line, I must say. There's two other revenue streams that are actually, so like if you look down here at this number where we looked at our state funding and it was 13 million, it doesn't quite match up because there's other revenue streams in here. So the casino tax is in here. Casino tax actually comes directly to us. It's really nice. It's not like the lottery or the sports gaming that gets pushed into the state appropriations and sent to us as state funding. It's separate. This is also where the catastrophic cost funding is. This is my latest thing. Catastrophic costs was funded differently before the last budget bill when we implemented the Fair School Funding Plan. It used to be a statewide appropriation that every district was able to apply for money for students that had expenses, special ed students that had expenses over $32,000 or $25,000, depending on their category 6 and category 5, which is just like their special ed disability. Any amount over that, you could ask the state for reimbursement, and they give you a percentage of it back. Well, when they changed to the Fair School Funding Plan, they changed the catastrophic cost program. It's now become a 10% deduction from your special ed funding. So every school district has 10% deducted from their special ed funding. Well, if you're a wealthy school district, you're not receiving much state funding because your state share is very low. The state thinks that you can fund your students, you don't need their money. So you don't have much special ed funding. So your 10% is very low. If you're a district like us, we're getting 1.5 million in special ed funding. So our special education deduction is pretty high, 150,000. This year it's 160,000. But we all apply for the money the same way. We all have the same, any student over 32,000, 25,000, turn in your expenses. So since they implemented this, we have lost money on it every single year. And it's not like we're losing money on catastrophic costs. We're not even getting paid for our catastrophic costs. We're losing money on our special ed funding. They're taking 10% of it. I have to go do quite a bit of work to try to get some of that 10% back. So we're not even getting it. So this has definitely been my pet peeve. And I'm getting like nowhere with it. I've talked to our legislators, I've talked to my association, and I'm not really sure because like for really big poor districts, like your big 8s, they're losing millions of dollars. So I'm not quite sure. And then it just came to me, the way it's set up, there's no state money involved in this. Unless you think of it as the state has given us money for special ed, therefore it's state money, and then they're spreading it out, but really that's not the way it works. So it's your poorer districts that are now subsidizing your wealthier districts through this program. This is what I said to Pat. I try to keep it simple because it can get kind of confusing, but in the end, that's what it is. Your poor districts are giving money to their wealthy districts because of the way it's set up. And I'm not sure why no one else really is getting it. Anyhow, you want to say something? Okay. All other revenue. So this is everything else that doesn't meet the other thing. So we've got interest income, which yay is going up. School fees, we haven't charged school fees for the last 2 school years, but students still hold from way back. So they're still paying. So there's some school fees coming in. Donations, we love donations. The Medicaid in Schools program, this is a really big one in this line item. Special education excess costs. We have a huge amount of money that goes in and out on excess costs. Rental of property, BCI, FBI fees we charge for other, not for our employees. We don't make money on our employees, but for other employees like the sheriff, whoever has to have it. Administrative fees, we do charge for handling other, the auxiliary fund. Payment in lieu of taxes, this is the pilot. There are a few tax abatements on commercial property, which is a pilot. So they do pay us a partial amount of what they're not paying in taxes. Tuition is a little bit different. That's at the state level. Students that are coming from another district on some sort of compact are paying us tuition, and we do have fines. And then when you look at this is what I'm talking about. Fiscal 21 making such a huge number on this because open enrollment in 21, we had $1.1 million showing as a revenue, and then in the expense side, we had like 1.3 million. So when you look at this, you see the all other revenues, not in a way, but I did give you the slides, you can look at them. That huge number up there, and then it went down to a smaller number. That's because this number, the 1.1 million, was in there. The advances in, we're not going to do that anymore. That was just federal funds being negative at year end, but it makes it messy, so that will not happen. We don't have any of this forecasted going forward because these are just unusual things that don't happen often. That's the end of revenues. So now we're going to move on to the bottom part, which is the expenditures down here. This is everything we're spending money on. You also need to read the assumptions because this tells you different than what I'm telling you now. The assumptions go into more detail and then what goes with it so that everybody knows my thoughts on how this works. So with that, we'll move on to expenditures. Salary benefits. This is obviously the biggest expense we have because schools are made of people. So this is where it's at. So on the benefit side, I put these two together also because they go together. On the benefit side, the biggest driver of this is our medical insurance, what we pay in medical insurance. We're paying almost $500,000 monthly just for medical insurance. So it's huge. It went up, of course. They broke it down different this year where they made the medical raise up 9% and they made the prescription drug go up 12%. We're in the HESI consortium, and because we don't have working spouse language for some of our employee groups, they are looking to penalize us going forward, so our medical insurance will be going up even more. Questions on that one? Purchase services. So these are all the things that you would think of as a service. It's all of our utilities, the swimming pool rental. We rent that for the swim team. We pay the city for the $100,000. The nursing services that we get, meetings and mileage, anything that our teachers or any of our staff go to, professional development, college credit reimbursement, postage. The big part of this is College Credit Plus because College Credit Plus is free for parents. It's not free for schools. We have to pay for it. The internet, all of our technology that we have. And of course, you see like the same thing with 21, why the numbers go down. We had this huge number back in 21 because this was our open enrollment out, plus our community schools and the vouchers that John Peterson, the autism, which are now paid directly by the state, although still coming out of that education line. Supplies and materials. A lot of this we were able to offset with the ESSER money, but we still have had quite a bit. The bus fuel, that went up quite a bit. Mechanic supplies, so that kind of shifted in expense. Now that we have Anthony work as our mechanic, we're doing a lot more in-house. We're buying a lot more supplies. We're not paying the purchase service where we send it away to be fixed. But it's definitely much better. Copy paper, custodial supplies, instructional supplies, all the kind of supplies that you would think of are here. Capital outlay. This is kind of our permanent improvement, which is normally where we would buy capital type equipment, is somewhat limited. So we can't pay for our school buses out of it because of the wording on the ballot when they originally passed it back in, I think, 1992. And we can't pay for certain things out of it. So we have to use our general fund for it. This year, we paid for the makerspace, some kind of new makerspace equipment. I just put a CNC machine here because I didn't know what it was exactly. But we paid, and it was $110,000 that normally we would pay out of the permanent improvement. But since the state has restricted the funding and says you have to spend so much on career tech, we needed to show that we spent it. So we took it out of the general fund instead of permanent improvement. Same thing with school buses. We're trying to decide, do we want to buy school buses this year? They've gone up. I think we just saw where a new school bus is now $140,000. I think we paid like $118,000 the last time we bought them. So that's a decision that we'll have to make. We want to get back on our replacement schedule. There was funding, some funding, 58% of a school bus, but the state did not do that in these 2 years. So 24, 25, there's no funding for school buses. Other objects, these are expenses we have no control over. So the county auditor charges us to handle our tax money, the state of Ohio that handles the school district income tax, the board of election fees. When we have new school board members come on, we always have board of election fees, the audit, the bank charges. These are pretty much not a lot of fluctuation in there. Other expenses, these are unusual things that normally don't happen. It's the reverse of when we had to transfer in the advance in. So this is the other side of it. You'll see back in 21, we were still subsidizing food service, which we don't have to worry about that anymore. And then the other one was the reverse of the advance in for the federal fund. I don't have anything forecasted going forward because that won't happen. This is it, the bottom line. So this is where you look at what your total revenues were, total expenses are, and the difference. So you'll see 21, 22, 23. We did have a positive year there in 22. We didn't deficit spend too bad in 23, and that really was all the ESSER money offsetting our expenses. Going forward, with the increase in the state funding and the increase in the property taxes, we shouldn't have too much of a deficit. I have us pretty much break even this year with the 65,000 negative. Next year, I've got us at 217 negative. So the board will have some decisions to make about where we're going to move all those expenses that were coming out of the ESSER money. We have 6 elementary teachers. Obviously, they will come back. 2 literacy coordinators. You know what's going to happen with those expenses. But we do have some time to think about this because this is our cash balance down here at the bottom. So this is kind of like your checkbook, right? So you spent too much out of your checkbook or didn't. But this is your savings account. So this is what, when you spent too much, you can move your money from your savings account. So this is what is helping us continue. And we do have, not a lot, but we do have a little bit of money to hold us over. So you have some time to make some decisions. So that's really important. And with that,
I have a question.
okay.
With the legalization of marijuana,
Oh, right.
has there been any inclination of
I
taxes?
didn't see anything in there really saying which one do we go to or school districts or.
Oh, no, don't go straight to the state.
Yeah.
The only reason schools directly receive casino money, it was written into the Constitution that way. Otherwise it would, yes.
Yeah, I didn't see anything listed, have anything like specifically for schools or anything in it.
No, but it will be tax revenue on the state side to help to help them. It's just a concern. The voucher expansion is just growing exponentially. So that's the concern. But, and they are talking about changing the tax rate, because I think it's not a constitutional amendment, it's an initiated statute. So that gives the legislature more room to change what they want with the legalization and change the way it's taxed and what happens. But the sports betting originally, that might have been an initiated statute too, I'm not sure. On the legislature side, not where the people vote. It was originally supposed to be to offset athletic participation fees for schools. But then the state decided not to do that. So, yeah, it just gets wrapped right up into our state funding, just like the lottery money.
Figures.
Yeah.
They don't have enough to fund public schools.
Right, but they're willing to, and that was a concern about, well, why they couldn't, fully fund the Fair School Fund, because, it's too much money, we don't have the money, and we can't. But if you can't first fund public school that educates everybody, I mean, we turn no one away.
So with planning, I mean, what would be the best option for the board and administration to move forward would be having some meetings specifically to plan for the ESSER funds running out and, fiscal years ahead.
And
Like
we
separate sessions to talk about like what we have and where it's gonna go. And
we have some state, student wellness and success money that's set aside in the 467 fund from a budget bill back that we have to spend by 25. So that's gonna offset some of 25 too. Because that's another thing, the state had given it to us, but now they say you have to spend it or we're taking it back.
is that already calculated into your?
Well, in that, right now I'm paying guidance counselors out of it, school nurses. So those expenses won't show coming back until 26. Because we'll be able to spend,
Is that why
Use
it
it.
jumps up to 6?
yes.
Okay.
So it's kind of a continuity of time when all these expenses are gonna start coming back. So, and hopefully certain things like the SRO is being funded with a federal grant, and then there's another grant that Dan had looked at that the law enforcement agency has to receive, that maybe, they'll be able to get that and help offset some of the costs of that going forward. So. But it's not good, it's not like we don't have a pipeline here with a lot of money, or something that's bringing in. But we're lucky that the state funding was an increase. That was, even though it wasn't as much as it should have been, the fact that it was increased was really good. Because for years and years and years, there really had been no increase. It had pretty much been frozen. And we are what would be considered a formula district, where when you're fully funded, you would be following the formula. Compared to some districts, they have a guarantee built in. So they wouldn't receive any money under the formula, but they give them a guarantee. So it's good that we're a formula district and not a guarantee district. That's pretty good.
But if we were fully funded, we would be in the red.
We would not, no. Right, yes. And originally, when they started with phasing in the Fair School funding formula, we all, as treasurers, thought, well, it's because we all have this ESSER money. So they're not so worried about it because we have ESSER money. But then this budget, when they did the expansion, the voucher expansion, obviously it wasn't so much concern, because private schools also receive ESSER money and quite a bit of it. So there's that. One question?
Thank you very much.
Audience questions? Okay. Well, fun's over, okay.
You just want to talk about numbers more.
I know.
This is like, I guess, my part of it. We have a motion for approval of treasury reports items 1 through 5.
So moved.
Second,
Second. Go ahead. Second.
any further discussion? No. Okay, roll call please.
Okay, Mr. Norris,
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Ritzenthaler.
Yes.
Personnel.
Items for approval, we have a resignation, Lisa Ott as a custodian. Number 2 is rescinding Jane Ramirez 120-day probationary contract. We are offering probationary contracts to 3 individuals: Anna Hershiser, special needs aide; Carter Nicolai as custodian; and Darlene Teeters as a transportation aide. We have a healthy list. We'd like to see that. Employment of substitutes. We've had many individuals come to central office for that interview, and we're fortunate to land both certified and classified positions there, and you have a healthy list there in both categories. We have 1 supplemental contract being offered, which means that is a current employee of the Norwalk City School District. That's Chris Jackson, as girls basketball coach at Norwalk Middle School. Special contracts are being offered to individuals that are not directly employed by the Norwalk City School District. For that, we have wrestling, Brandon Byock, assistant coach at Norwalk High School. Andrew Ehrenberg, boys basketball at middle school. Rich Jubeck at Norwalk Middle School. For girls basketball, Matt Goosetree, wrestling, Norwalk Middle School. Number 9, we have a correction for Audra Rooker. Evidence was provided for her previous coaching experience, so she is being moved from step 0 to step 2 as a paid swim coach. Our volunteers here at Norwalk High School, so appreciate them because obviously not getting paid for that position and putting in the work. So Norwalk High School have Colton Anderson and Jason Camp as wrestling coaches. Norwalk Middle School, we have Trenton Goosetree as helping out with wrestling. We also have some volunteers in the classroom, and those are the 3 individuals listed there: Lindsay Dega, Ashley Roth, and Tanya Stewart. So that is all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. May I have a motion for approval of personnel items 1 through 11?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Ritzenthaler?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Superintendent reports.
Yes, so item for approval here, we have our board policies. So our board policies are provided by our attorney, Couple and Wagner. Dan Louder is the author of those policies. So has provided those to us several weeks ago. Most of those, if you had a chance to look at those, were based on much of the budget bill that Mrs. DuPont spoke of. So language that has to match for the state of Ohio, most of those pertain to that. So if you had a chance to look at those, recommending those to go forward. There was one question, I know that's an optional one, which potentially we need to look at further, was the artificial intelligence. Talking obviously to our people that are working with this as to, they obviously offer these broad parameters and saying that students can use AI to potentially for academic dishonesty. We know these things, and what's a consequence if that actually is a result. So that's obviously a growing field, and we're not going to sidestep it. I don't care what profession you're in, that's going to be a part that's being addressed, and that's no different in schooling. So we can either look at that further, or you can talk, and obviously we have the ability, Mrs. Gerber has the flash drive, if there's anything you do want to look at in extensive nature, but that was the one that potentially could be looked at. That's an optional one as listed.
So right now we're keeping it on, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I read it. I think it's personally not going to be able to not have some kind of policy in it. Probably better now than later.
Mhm.
But if we get feedback from the teachers that they want something changed, then I'd be willing to look at it again too, if we put it in place and we look to review it or.
We really don't know until it's tested.
Right. So, and so many of the other ones, obviously, they are word changes. They're things that have to happen to match the law, to mirror that. There's only a handful of those that are optional that we actually look at, and I think everything else should be passed this evening.
And a motion for approval of superintendent's updated board policies.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
any more discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Ritzenthaler?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Okay. So board discussion and comments, Yehovah News.
Okay, so there's a few things. First of all, the Steps In is open on Wednesdays and Thursdays. I believe that we're going to have a Christmas buffet coming up in December. You can come along and see it. But the main thing is October 18th, it will be hosted more than 250 professionals that are represented area businesses at the annual fall advisory meeting. And during that meeting, Mr. McCauley went over what has been done and so on. And he celebrated some of the recent achievements, which I'm very happy to say tonight. The first, they received 5 out of 5 stars on the Ohio 2023 State Report Card, which I think is fantastic. They also exceeded state standards in 5 key areas, that being technical skill attainment, student achievement, career and post-secondary readiness, post-program outcomes, and graduation rates. And I might point out that they could not have done all of this without cooperation from teachers, communities, and local school boards also. So they want me to just thank you for that.
Legislative report. Anything we haven't touched on? Okay, fair enough. Any other board discussion? Yes, please.
Yes, I wanted to take a moment. So earlier this week, I was at the Capitol Conference in Columbus, and what was a very educational and enjoyable experience turned tragic today. Some of you may have heard the Tuscarawas School District experienced a tragic accident. In fact, there were students on the way to that very conference that I was at that were in an accident on the way there. In fact, I understand several of them have lost their lives. And so I just want to say Norwalk City School District stands with those who are in Tuscarawas County. Certainly encourage parents to hug their kids a little tighter tonight. These are the types of events that I think we all need community in. We all need to sort of lean on those relationships that we've developed. Certainly as board members, as parents, we spend so much of our time thinking about protecting our kids. And man, I can only imagine what those parents are going through tonight. So we just want to offer our condolences, offer our well wishes and prayers, and certainly our thoughts are with that community.
Any other discussion? Okay, at this time, we want to move into executive session, so I need a motion for the discussion of employment of a public employee. Second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Norris?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenthal?
Yes.
Time will be 8:40. Oh, I'm sorry, there will be no action. Caleb, would you like to go into executive session? It's up to you. It's up to you. I can invite, so